Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're heading back to 1897 West Virginia. We've got a really remarkable and, well, unique story, the tale of the Greenbrier
Oh,
ghosts.
yeah, this is one of those cases that just sticks with you. It's got everything tragedy, a mother's determination, and, well, something seemingly beyond explanation.
Exactly. We're looking at the death of Elva Zona Heaster, young woman. Initially, they said, natural causes,
Right, but then her mother steps in, claims Zona's ghost appeared, saying she was murdered by her husband.
which is just incredible, and it actually led to the case being reopened, a trial. It's quite something.
And to really get into this, we've gathered quite a bit of material. Historical accounts, newspaper reports from back then, even personal stories, book excerpts, genealogical sites, trying to piece it all together.
Yeah, so our mission today is to explore all those layers, try to separate the known facts from the, let's say, folklore that's built up around it, and figure out why this story, with that ghostly element, still fascinates people over a century later. Okay, so let's dive in. Where do we begin?
We should probably start with Zona and her husband, Erasmus Shue. Everyone called him Trout.
Trout shoe.
He was new in Greenbrier County, working as a blacksmith at Livesay's mill. He and Zona had this whirlwind romance. Met and married pretty quickly, October 1896.
Quick. And her mother, Mary Jane Heaster, apparently didn't like him from the start.
No, not at all. Had a bad feeling about him, it seems. Zona and Trout set up house near her mother, actually.
But they weren't married long before the tragedy.
Not long at all. January 23rd, 1897. That's when Zona's body was found. A young boy, Andy Jones, discovered her.
And Trout had sent him there on an errand.
Yeah, which seemed a bit odd later on. Andy found Zona at the bottom of the stairs in their house.
How was she found? I mean, the position?
It was described quite specifically. Lying flat, feet together, one hand on her stomach, the other beside her, head turned a bit to the side, eyes open.
Feet together, hands placed. Sounds almost arranged. Not like someone who just fell down the stairs.
Exactly. That detail is potentially quite significant. Falling usually results in a more, awkward position.
And Trout's reaction when he got back.
Well, that raised eyebrows too. He apparently rushed back, picked her up himself, carried her upstairs, and then insisted on dressing her for burial himself. Put her in a dress with a really high neck and a veil over her face. Didn't want anyone else to handle her.
That does seem unusual. Preparing the body wasn't typically the husband's job back then, was it?
No, definitely not. Usually female relatives or neighbors would do that.
So, what did the doctor say initially?
Dr. George W. Knapp was called. His first thought was maybe a heart attack or something he called an everlasting faint.
Everlasting faint.
Yeah. But then, weirdly, the official death record later listed the cause as childbirth.
Childbirth, was she pregnant?
It's unclear if she actually was or how far along if so, but the record itself is suspicious. It's incomplete, no doctor's signature, just lists her as Mrs. Shue. Very strange.
Okay, so the cause of death is already murky. What about the wake? Anything unusual happen then?
Yes. People notice things. Trout apparently made a big show of grief. Some thought maybe too much. But more importantly, despite the veil and high collar, someone noticed a bruise on Zona's cheek.
A bruise. Okay.
And there was talk about her head seeming loose, like it wasn't quite right on her neck.
Loose. That's disturbing.
Right. And Trout kept adjusting pillows around her head in the coffin. Put a scarf around her neck, too. Said it was her favorite.
So high collar, veil, pillows, scarf.
Yeah.
All around the neck area.
Exactly. Lots of little things that, looking back, seem suspicious. The community was definitely uneasy. But it was Zona's mother who really pushed things forward.
Mary Jane Heaster. She was convinced Trout did it from the start.
Absolutely. Remember, she never liked him. After Zona was buried, she started praying fervently, asking for the truth to come out.
And that's when the visitations started.
According to Mary Jane, yes. She claimed that for 4 nights in a row, Zona's spirit appeared in her bedroom.
4 nights. How did she describe it?
She said it started with a bright light. Then the form of her daughter would appear, and the room would get ice cold. Very vivid descriptions.
And what did the ghost allegedly say?
The ghost accused Trout of being abusive. Said on the night she died, he got furious because she hadn't made any meat for supper.
Over supper.
That's what Mary Jane recounted. The ghost said he attacked her, and crucially, that he broke her neck, twisted it violently.
Broke her neck by twisting it. That's specific.
Very specific. Mary Jane even claimed the ghost demonstrated, turning its head almost all the way around to show the injury.
Wow. And you mentioned Mary Jane described Zona's house in detail. even though she claims she'd never been inside.
That's another fascinating part. She gave details about the layout, the surroundings. Now, whether that proves the ghost story or if she'd heard descriptions from Zona or others, that's part of the mystery. Maybe gossip, maybe secondhand info. Hard to say.
So, armed with this spectral testimony, she goes to the prosecutor.
She did. John Alfred Preston. She told him everything. Pleaded with him to reopen the case based on what Zona's ghost revealed.
And Preston must have been skeptical, right? You can't exactly put a ghost on the witness stand.
Right. He was definitely skeptical. The whole idea of ghost testimony is, legally speaking, hearsay. It's inadmissible on its own.
Hearsay. Because the original source, the ghost, isn't there to be sworn in or cross-examined. Makes sense.
Exactly. But Mary Jane was incredibly persistent. And there were those community rumors already swirling, plus the questions about Dr. Knapp's initial quick look.
So Preston didn't just dismiss her out of hand.
No, he actually looked into it. He talked to Dr. Knapp again, who apparently admitted his first examination was, pretty brief, not thorough at all.
So the combination of the mother's persistence, the rumors, and the doctor's admission
Convinced Preston there was enough doubt to justify, digging deeper. Literally.
they decided to exhume the body.
Yes. On February 22nd, 1897, they took Zona's body to the nearby Nichols schoolhouse for an autopsy.
And Trout, what was his reaction?
He was not happy. The paper said he vigorously complained, but he had to be there. Apparently, he kept saying things like, "They won't be able to prove I did it."
Which doesn't exactly sound like an innocent man, does it? So the autopsy, what did they find?
This is where it gets really compelling. The autopsy confirmed Mary Jane's, or the ghost's claim. Zona's neck was broken, a clear dislocation between the first and second vertebrae, the atlas and axis bones, ligaments torn. That takes significant force.
Just like the ghost supposedly said.
Exactly. And there was more. Her windpipe was crushed, and there were marks on her throat that looked like she'd been choked.
So strangulation and a broken neck, that completely contradicts everlasting faint or childbirth.
Absolutely. And apparently the body was quite well preserved because of the cold weather, which made the injuries clear.
This physical evidence must have changed everything. It directly backed up what Mary Jane had been saying, ghost or no ghost.
Precisely. Now, Preston had concrete medical evidence of foul play, matching the specific claims Mary Jane had relayed.
So with this new evidence, attention must have turned back to Trout's shoe and his past.
Yes. And people started digging. Turns out Zona wasn't his first wife, or even his second. She was his third.
Third wife. What happened to the others?
Well, his first marriage to Allie Esteline Cutlip ended in divorce. She accused him of violence, severe beatings. This was around the time he also did jail time for horse stealing.
Okay, so a history of violence and crime already. What about wife number 2?
Lucienne Tritt. That marriage also ended quickly, just 8 months. She died under very mysterious circumstances.
Mysterious how?
Trout claimed she just fell and hit her head. But rumors flew. Maybe a brick fell from the chimney and hit her, maybe poisoning. No one seemed sure.
And official records.
That's another suspicious thing. There seem to be no official death records for Lucienne Tritt at all, which is odd.
So a pattern may be emerging. Quick marriages, accusations of violence, mysterious deaths.
It certainly paints a disturbing picture. And his behavior while waiting for the trial for Zona's murder didn't help him.
How so?
He seemed almost nonchalant in jail. Reportedly bragged about wanting 7 wives someday.
7 wives, while accused of murdering number 3.
Yeah, and he kept insisting they couldn't prove he did it. Not exactly proclaiming innocence, more like daring them to make the case stick. People who saw him testify at the trial said he was erratic, didn't come across well at all.
So the trial starts June 22nd, 1897. Preston, the prosecutor, has the autopsy results, but he still can't really use the ghost story directly, right? Because of the hearsay rule?
Correct. He had to be careful. His strategy was to build the case on the circumstantial evidence.
Which was?
Trout's weird behavior at the wake, dressing the body, the high collar and scarf, the observations people made about the bruise and the loose head, and then, boom, the autopsy findings confirming a broken neck and strangulation. It all painted a very damning picture.
Did the ghost story come up at all?
Ironically, yes. It was the defense that brought it up.
Really? Why would they do that?
Probably trying to make Mary Jane seem crazy or unstable. Undermine her credibility as a witness to Trout's behavior and her initial suspicions.
How did that work out for them?
Not well, apparently. Mary Jane stuck to her story, unwavering. By all accounts, she came across as completely sincere, and the jury was reportedly very moved by her conviction.
So even if the ghost testimony wasn't direct evidence, her belief in it and how she presented it had an impact.
It seems so. Her testimony about her interactions with Trout, her reasons for suspicion, combined with that powerful autopsy evidence, it was a strong case.
In the jury.
They didn't take long. Deliberated for just over an hour, I believe. Found Trout Chu guilty of first-degree murder.
Guilty. So justice of a sort was served. What happened to Trout then?
Well, feelings were running high. There was actually an attempt by a mob to lynch him right after the verdict.
Wow.
Yeah, but the authorities got him safely transferred to the state penitentiary in Moundsville.
And he lived out his sentence there.
Not for long. He died in prison just 3 years later, in 1900, during some kind of epidemic. Measles, maybe? He was buried in an unmarked grave, right there at the prison cemetery.
And Mary Jane. Did she ever change her story about the ghost?
Never. She maintained that Zona's ghost visited her and revealed the truth right up until her own death in 1916. She told the story to anyone who'd listen.
It's such a unique case that West Virginia actually put up a historical marker, right?
They did, near Zona's grave. And it specifically mentions it as the only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer.
Which is quite a claim. But the debate still lingers, doesn't it? Was it really the ghost, or was the other evidence enough?
Absolutely, that's the core question. Skeptics point to the strong circumstantial evidence, Trout's behavior, his past, and especially that damning autopsy. They argue the jury convicted him on that, and the ghost story was just background color, maybe influenced by Mary Jane's grief or community gossip.
Could grief have played a role in her visions? Or maybe she heard rumors?
It's certainly possible. Intense grief can manifest in powerful ways,
Oh.
and small communities talk. It's plausible she picked up details about the house or the circumstances indirectly. There was even a theory floated later, based on a newspaper article found from around that time, about a similar case in Australia involving ghostly testimony. Could she have read that and unconsciously adapted it? We just don't know.
So many possibilities. And the story lives on locally.
Oh, very much so. You can still visit the cemetery where Zona's buried. The house where she died is still standing, though it's a private home now. It's a fixture of local lore. People are still fascinated, still asking questions about Trout's motive. Was it really just about supper? And about the ghost.
When you pull back, the Greenbrier ghost story really touches on these deep themes, doesn't it? Love, betrayal, the search for justice.
For sure. And that desire for justice, even when it seems to come from, an impossible source, it makes us think about belief, about what constitutes proofs, and about the mysteries that history leaves us with.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into this truly unique case, it leaves us, and you listening, with a big question. Considering everything, the evidence, the testimony, the folklore, what do you think really happened in Greenbrier County back in 1897? Did Elva Zona's ghost truly play a role in bringing her killer to justice, or was it something else entirely?
It's a case that forces you to think about the edges of belief, evidence, and how stories shape our understanding of justice. Definitely one to ponder.